Hey there folks, my name is Brent Vernon. Today I want to share with you a story that I wrote and illustrated. This was a really special story because it was the first one that I ever wrote that actually became a real book. This is the story of Audrey Amaka, a necklace giraffe. What? So where did the idea to write a story about a necklace giraffe come from? That's a little bit odd. In the very beginning, this story had nothing to do with giraffes. I thought, what if we took the world's most famous baritone opera singer and the world's most famous soprano opera singer? And what if they were married? And what if they were expecting a baby? And they had huge dreams for this baby. I mean, they were the most talented in their field, and they just knew that their child was going to be the greatest opera singer ever. But when the baby was born, not only could this kid not sing, when she opened up her mouth, she sounded like a bicycle horn. Not good. What would life be like for that poor kid? So eventually, over time, that poor little child turned into a giraffe without a neck in a world where long necks were pretty important. So would you like to go ahead and read the story? Let's get with it. Everyone looked up to Mr. and Mrs. Amaka, and for good reason. The Amakas both had longer necks than any other giraffe in the whole country, maybe even the world. Their necks were so long that sometimes their heads would disappear into the clouds for hours on end. Besides having long necks, the Amakas were quite wealthy. They had everything they could hope for, except for one thing. They wanted to have a baby. And finally, after 9 years of marriage, they were delighted to discover that they were expecting a child. Every night before falling asleep, the Amakas would lie out under the stars and would talk about their dreams for the baby. "I'm sure it will be a boy," said Mr. Amaka. "Of course it will be a boy," said Mrs. Amaka. "We'll name him Audrey, after Audrey Hepburn. Don't you just love her?" "But Audrey is a girl's name." "I know that." "Audrey is a nice name," said Mr. Amaka after a long pause. "He will be big and strong and have the longest neck in the universe," continued Mrs. Amaka. "I'm certain of it, darling," said Mr. Amaka, giving her a squeeze. But when the big day came, the Amakas found out just how wrong they were. "And here she is," announced the doctor, holding up a tiny bundle for Mr. and Mrs. Amaka to see. "It's a she?" screeched Mrs. Amaka. "We have a daughter?" It's Neckless," stammered Mr. Amaka, taking a closer look. "Necklace? I gave birth to a necklace? I don't even wear jewelry," bellowed Mrs. Amaka. "Neckless," said the doctor. "Your daughter is healthy, but she has no neck. I repeat, your daughter has no neck." Mr. and Mrs. Amaka fainted. Little Audrey never grew a neck. Mr. and Mrs. Amaka were heartbroken, but worse, they were ashamed of their daughter. As Audrey grew into childhood, they forced her to take all kinds of neck-growing pills and potions, but nothing helped, nothing at all. On Audrey's 6th birthday, Mr. and Mrs. Amaka gave her a gift. Inside the beautifully wrapped box, she found a pair of high-heeled shoes. They were blue and sparkly. "Am I old enough to wear these?" she blinked. "Are high-heeled shoes appropriate for a 6-year-old? "Darling," said her father, "these will help you walk taller and with style," added her mother. Despite her young age, Audrey knew many things. She knew that wearing high-heeled shoes could be hard on her hooves and ankles, so she only wore them on special occasions, like checking the mail and vacuuming her bedroom. One such day, after vacuuming, Audrey asked her mother for permission to go to the spring for a drink of water. "You just had a drink yesterday," said Mrs. Amaka, reminding her that giraffes need to drink only every 2 or 3 days. "That's true." "I know, Mother," said Audrey, "but I'm not like other giraffes. I need to drink every day. I'm parched." "Okay, sweetie," said Mrs. Amaka, "but be careful and don't be gone long." So Audrey took to the pathway, still wearing her sparkly blue heels. On her way to the spring, Audrey came into a clearing filled with young animals playing tag. She spotted her friend Nelson sitting on the sidelines watching the others. "Hiya, Nelson," she said as she plopped down beside him. "What you doing?" "Hi, Audrey," said Nelson. "I'm just watching the game. I twisted my ankle last week, so I can't play today." "Why did you do that?" asked Audrey. "I stepped in a hollow tree stump," said Nelson. He leaned toward her and whispered, "I think it was a snake's nest. My friend Doodle thinks that there are black mambas in the area again." Audrey's eyes grew large. She knew all about black mamba snakes. "I hope your friend is wrong," she said. "That would be terrible." "For sure," said Nelson. "Well, I'm sorry about your ankle," said Audrey, glancing down to see Nelson's bandaged foot. "But you have good taste in shoes," she joked. "So do you," whistled Nelson, noticing Audrey's sparkly heels. "Where did you get those?" "My parents gave them to me. They told me that these shoes would make me look taller." "They're very nice shoes," said Nelson. "But you don't need to look taller, Audrey. You're just fine." "No, I'm not," blurted Audrey, suddenly bursting into tears. "I'm hideous, I'm weird looking, and my parents are ashamed of me. I'm Neckless, Nelson." Nelson stared at her for a few seconds. "You are different, Audrey," he said finally. "But wonderful. Stop worrying about what you don't have and be thankful for what you do. What do I have that's so special?" "Besides sparkly shoes," sniffed Audrey. "Are you kidding me? You're smarter than any of my other friends. You're good at remembering and figuring things out. I wish I had your brains." Wiping her tears, Audrey noticed that one of the animals in the clearing was having an especially good time. He was running faster, jumping higher, and laughing louder than any of the others. "Who is that?" Audrey asked Nelson, nodding toward the cheerful creature. "Oh, that's my best friend Doodle. He's a hyrax." "A hyrax? That's not possible. He's 5 times the size of a normal hyrax. He's huge." "I know it. He's way overgrown, but he's a hyrax, all right," said Nelson. "Well, does it bother him that he's so big?" asked Audrey, still sniffling a little. "Not anymore. He's okay with it now. He's probably the nicest kid I know. The best thing about Doodle is he's always ready to lend a helping hand." Audrey didn't say anything. "You know," Nelson said, pointing to a wheelchair underneath a nearby tree, "Doodle is the one who got me out here today. I was going to stay home, but he insisted on bringing me himself." "Wow," said Audrey quietly. "He must be strong." "Yeah," said Nelson. "Take what you have and do something good with it. I learned that from Doodle." "I like that," thought Audrey. "Take what you have and do something good with it. What an idea." The following day, Audrey's family decided to have a picnic on the savannah. So they packed their lunches and made their way to a secluded spot behind a grove of acacia trees. It was a lovely meadow, and they were all happy to have found it. "I never knew about this place," said Mrs. Amaka. "I didn't either," said Audrey. "Let's eat," said Mr. Amaka. After lunch, Mr. and Mrs. Amaka decided to take a look around. As usual, their heads nearly disappeared as they were lifted high into the afternoon sky. They were up there a long time, and despite having books to read, Audrey became bored and frustrated that she was not able to see above the tall grass. Suddenly, Audrey got a strange feeling. Her horns tingled. Her hair stood straight up. She glanced around nervously. What was going on? On either side of her, the tall grass began to move slightly, and she heard whispers. The voices were low and eerie, like a midnight breeze in the bush willow. An instant later, she saw a silver form sliding quickly past her in the grass. She heard a snap and spun around, only to see another silver streak on her other side. Like a bolt of lightning, she remembered her conversation with Nelson. Black mambas. Audrey knew that the black mamba is one of the fastest and most poisonous snakes in the world. She remembered reading about how deadly they can be, especially when they feel threatened. "Someone has stolen my sunny spot," hissed one of the snakes as they slithered away from her. Same here, replied the other snake angrily. Sunny spot, wondered Audrey, relieved that she had not been noticed. What are they talking about? And then she realized. Stretching as high as she could, Audrey peered over the tall grass and saw the mamba slithering toward her parents. Mr. and Mrs. Amaka were standing on either side of a large boulder, their heads still high in the sky. This is disturbing, hissed one of the mambas. Very, hissed the other. You take her, I'll take him. Audrey's mind began to race. Black mambas loved to sun themselves on rock piles and boulders. Her parents, not knowing the danger, had wandered into the mamba's sunny spot. The snakes felt threatened and were planning to strike Mr. and Mrs. Amaka. Audrey had to warn them, but what could she do? She couldn't outrun the snakes. She couldn't scream. She couldn't do anything. Or could she? Quickly and quietly, Audrey slipped off her sparkly blue heels. With a shoe in each hand, she took careful aim. Just as the mambas were about to strike, Audrey hurled the shoes, one at her father's flank and one at her mother's. Now, this is important. Under normal circumstances, it is unacceptable to throw shoes at your parents or anyone else. You should know this. But this was an emergency. Audrey's aim was spot on. Her blue heels met their marks, lightly bouncing off her parents' flanks and hitting the ground. Now, giraffes have the ability to kick the stuffing out of any creature that gets too close, and that is exactly what happened. Instinctively, Mr. and Mrs. Amaka both gave a hard kick. In a flash, the mambas went sailing. Shaking with fright, Audrey watched the snakes arc across the sky for what seemed like miles. What just happened, Audrey? Asked Mr. Amaka, his head descending from the heavens. Did I just kick something? Asked Mrs. Amaka. I saw the whole thing, said a gravelly voice behind them. Perched in a nearby jackleberry tree was Mr. Weaver, a longtime friend of the family. Mr. and Mrs. Amaka, you'd better be glad that your daughter didn't have her head in the sky. She saved your lives. As Mr. Weaver told them of Audrey's bravery, Mrs. Amaka started to cry. Tears of joy began to form in Mr. Amaka's eyes as well, but he tried to hide them. It wasn't long before the whole family was hugging and crying happily. As the story spread throughout the countryside, Audrey became a hero. Nobody cared that she didn't have a neck. She was only known as Audrey Amaka, the little giraffe with a good head on her shoulders. A few days later, Audrey got permission from her parents to spend a day hiking in the foothills with Nelson and Doodle. So, early the next Saturday, they all met at the trailhead. I wish I could be smart and brave like you, Audrey, Doodle said as they were double-checking their supplies. You're special too, said Audrey shyly. Thanks for carrying my backpack. You're welcome, said Doodle. You smell pretty. Back off, Doodle, laughed Nelson, still in his wheelchair. Are we going on this hike or not? Hold up, said Audrey. She was rummaging through her handbag. I don't remember packing this. From inside the bag, Audrey pulled a large cardboard box with a note attached. No wonder my bag was so heavy. What does it say? Asked Doodle. I'll read it, said Audrey. It says, we should have seen it long ago. It's obvious to all. You never needed high-heeled shoes to stand up straight and tall. But what you need to know is this. Although we caused a fuss, we are and always will be proud that you belong to us. Signed, Mom and Dad. Well, 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 said Nelson. My dad wrote that, I can tell, said Audrey, smiling broadly. He's not a very good poet, but that doesn't matter. He loves me. They love me. Inside the box, Audrey was delighted to find a pair of sparkly blue hiking boots. What is that thing you say, Doodle? Take what you have and do something good with it. Doodle cut in with a laugh. I think it's time for you to put those boots on, said Nelson. Let's hit the trail. Sounds like a great idea, giggled Audrey. And so it was that Audrey Amaka, a giraffe without a neck, learned a very important lesson. We were all created in a wonderful way. God gives each of us something special to offer the world. He does. We just have to take what we have and do something good with it. In the Bible, in Psalm 139:14, we read, "When you created me, you did an awesome and a wonderful job. I praise you for that. All of your works are wonderful." The end. Well, I started to draw and create characters when I was really, really young. But when I got older, I kind of stepped away from it a little bit as I got involved in other things. But I finally came to a point where I realized that I had a little bit of a talent for it, and I had a lot of love for creating memorable characters. So just this morning, I was thinking about some things as it related to art, and I wrote this down. See what you think. The best way to get better at art is to be very, very observant and to be very, very persistent. Keep at it. You know, sometimes I look at my old artwork and I think, I don't like it that much, or I could have done better. But that's just the nature of it. You do, and you do, and you do. So do you like to draw? I'm sure a lot of you kids like to draw. I really do. But sometimes drawing is hard. Do you know what? Actually, drawing Audrey Amaka is pretty difficult. It's difficult to get her facial proportions quite right, and especially if it's been a while since I've drawn her. Let me show you a time-lapse video that I recently did of Audrey's face, and we'll see what you think. All right, so here we go. You can see Audrey's head taking shape. There's a little hump on the top of her head. There goes her horns, or otherwise known as ossicones. Did you know that? And I often use software to draw my characters, and that allows for symmetry. And you can get the ears the same size and just flip them around, make sure that they're the same shape. There goes her eye and her beautiful eyelashes, her iris, making sure that gets placed right. Eye placement is really, really big. And then I move that around, reshape the eye, pull it together. All right. And then when you're doing pencil drawings, you just kind of refine. You rework the lines, you make them darker, and kind of scribble out things you didn't like or erase and make things better. There you go, got a little more chubby cheeks. All right, put some white in the eyes. The reflections are really important to bring life to the eyes. And then right here, you see how I'm cutting out her eyes and I'm putting them down a little bit, just placing them a little bit lower in her head. That really helps her to become more like the old Audrey. And in this layer, what I'm doing is actually refining the pencil line a little bit. It's still not perfect, but you can kind of get the idea that I have a better idea of where the lines should be. You see? There we go. And the ears. And the other ear. Very good. All right, got to put a few spots in, right? Color her eyes a little bit deeper. There we go. A few more spots. And a few more spots. I got a lot of spots. All right, color in the eyebrows, color in the ear spots. All right, what do you think? What do you think? There we have it. Shading on Audrey is pretty important too, because it brings out the dimensions. As the light hits Audrey, where would the light be? Where would the shadows be? And so that really adds an extra special touch. And there you have it. I have an idea. Why don't I text that picture that I just showed you to Audrey and see if she likes it? What do you think? Let's see, here we go. Audrey, I just drew this picture of you. Thoughts? Send it. Let's see what she says, all right? Should I wait on her? Oh, here she is. Yikes. Is that really supposed to be me? She's a little picky, isn't she? So why don't we all draw something together, okay? I mentioned that Audrey was hard to draw, but Doodle, the Hyrax, Audrey's friend, he's pretty easy to draw. He's made up of circles and curves. So let's get going and get your pencil, get your paper, let's go. So let's start with a circle right here. Okay, that's kind of the top of his head. And then Doodle has these big old cheeks that come out here like this, right? Add a little fluff up here, a little fluff up on the upper cheek. And then right about here, somewhere around the base of the big circle, we'll put in his nose. Y'all following me at home? All right. Top of his nose. And then his eyes are kind of almond shape. So they kind of go right here. Another one over here. And then a lot of times I put a line at the top of the eye to indicate where the eyelashes would be. That really helps to bring character, and seems like it warms up the overall appearance of the character. Now let's put some pupils in there. All right, one over here, one over there. Okay, looking good. So Doodle usually smiles. Doodle smiles so much of the time. So we're gonna give him a big smile today. How about that? And all the while, you see how I'm kind of scratchy over here, but it's just trying to find the right line, and it's okay because you can go back and you can erase, right? So draw this under. Under. Then he has these little, they're kind of like little pointy teeth up here in the top. Not quite like fangs, but they're still a little pointy. And also, he has a little pair on the bottom, okay? And you can see a little bit of the tongue right in there, okay? So the whites of the eyes are really important a lot of times because it kind of brings a life to the character. It shows that they're reflecting the light in the environment where the character is. So that's important. And same with the nose to a degree. If they have any kind of a reflective type of material for a nose, bring out that as well, okay? So he's coming together. Let's add some eyebrows. Okay. Doodle is a very loving, he's a very energetic, big fella. There's a little tuft of hair up here between his eyebrows, right there. And then Doodle has these little ears that go right here. So like I said, Doodle is a hyrax, and hyrax are very interesting creatures. You know what? Symmetry is important. So if you see that one side of his face, one cheek is bigger than the other, you can pull that in. All right. One side of his face is bigger. There we go. So hyrax are really interesting. You know that they're actually small rodent-like creatures, but they're related to elephants and manatees. Isn't that strange? That's crazy. And you want to hear something also a little bit interesting? Okay, I hope this isn't TMI, but it's nature, right? When you and I have to go to the bathroom, we usually have a bathroom to go to, right? Wild animals obviously don't, but when nature calls the hyrax, they have a very specific place that they go to do their business. Isn't that cool? I read that and I never knew that before. Another thing is there are 4 kinds of hyrax. The rock hyrax live in rocky areas and among boulders, and so this helps to keep them protected from predators like leopards or pythons. Doodle is a rock hyrax, okay? But there are other kinds too. There's the yellow-spotted rock hyrax, there's the southern tree hyrax, and the western tree hyrax. Anyway, isn't that cool? So I thought you guys would enjoy finding out. That's pretty much it for Doodle. He's a pretty cool guy. So did you enjoy finding out about what a hyrax is? Did you ever know all that stuff? Well, in the back of the Audrey Amaka storybook, there is a list of facts about some of the animals that are in this book, okay? So for example, did you know that the average male giraffe stands 17 feet tall? The average female giraffe is 16 feet tall. And that's without the help, of course, of sparkly blue heels. Despite having a long neck, a giraffe has the same number of vertebrae as a human. A hyrax, however, has more vertebrae than pretty much any other mammal. That's a lot. And it's no wonder that Doodle is so flexible, right? He's out there moving around. Audrey's friend Nelson is a member of the aardvark family. I don't think the book said that, but an aardvark has powerful claws for burrowing and digging for their favorite food, termites. Brr. The poisonous black mamba snake is covered in silvery skin, but was named for the inky color on the inside of its mouth. Whew, black mamba, that's pretty scary stuff. Okay, there's one last fact here, and this is pretty cool. The scientific name Camelopardalis. Can we all say that together? Let's try it. 1, 2, 3. Camelopardalis. Excellent. Was given to the giraffe to describe it as a combination of a camel and a leopard. Pretty cool stuff. I hope you enjoyed that. All right, everybody. Well, I guess that does it for us today. I hope you've had a wonderful time. It's been great to be with you. Let's not forget the two main messages of the Audrey Amaka story. Number 1, you don't have to be tall to stand tall. And number 2, take what you have and do something good with it. Is that right, Audrey? Yeah! Let's get out of here. All right, come on. You doing all right?